June 27th, 2023, Doc Ellis, the Hick Doctor from Oklahoma. Put on your VA hat. Okay. Matt, fighting VA for subacute, cutaneous, lupus, erythematosus, allergic rhinitis, sinusitis. Radiation exposure in Germany. Could be. Now, the allergic rhinitis, sinusitis could be other stuff. Now, in VA, if you start having symptoms in the service, it's covered. Okay? So if you start having migraines in the service, migraines are covered. Doesn't have to be caused. They just have, or you're 20 years and you get hypertension, it's covered. Okay? You need a nexus report, need magic words. Okay. Claim is HLR at present. Haven't heard a thing in 9 months. We're trying to get this for your great grandkids. That's typical. Okay, don't give up, and never give up, because VA, federal, and federal workers' comp laws are very, very fair. You just fight it till you finally get it somebody who's got a brain. Okay. Radiation exposure, possibly, can't say probably, but there may be other exposures that you had. And of course, if your symptoms started while you're in service, it's covered. It's just like if you had rheumatic fever and had a heart murmur, they didn't pick it on the physical, and they hire you, they eat it. They have to pay for it. Okay. Okay, Alex, PTSD, lower back pain, sciatica, spondylitis, spondostenosis, migraines, torn ankle ligaments. How would I win SSDI? I assume that's Social Security, these illnesses. I'm currently 9% VA. Okay, Social Security disability means no gainful employment. Okay, now, individual employability under the VA means you can't go to work. All right, it's not the same high criteria, but you can't go to work if you have it. If you have individual employability and you go back to work, you lose that. All right, and you need it because you need a nexus or causation report showing that. And you only need 40% VA to be individually unemployable. You know, you may have a condition that's only 40%, but it makes you unemployable. That would be VA. And there's some benefits for that. And then Social Security, just like everything else, they turn down 90% of them. Then you get any attorney, name on the park bench, and go and get an oral hearing. You get to talk to a judge. All right. And usually on Social Security, they want to just go by your records. They don't want a hired gun. But if you don't have enough records or somebody that's put everything together, then it's worth coming to Ellis Clinic and get a Social Security exam. But usually you don't need that. Unless you get turned down, then you need the exam. Here's one from Mark. 79, neck injury, slipped on the ice. That's in my records when I was in service. Korea, had a Jeep accident, traumatic brain injury. Accident report was never seen by medics. VA is diagnosed with mild TBI. 45 years ago, started having problems with my cervical, lumbar. You had a wreck. It's probably going to be covered. Had to go, due to all those conditions, had to go permanent, Social Security. Never been in an accident since then. Now I'm having balance problems. That's your neck. That's your brain. Dizziness. That's your brain. Clumsy. Got a knee. Meniscus. Walking around. Had surgery. You know, how long were you in the service? If it contributed at all to the knee a little bit, it's covered when it comes out, or comes later. I see mental health for panic attacks and depression. Insomnia for 20 years. Okay, yeah. If that panic attack depression began from its service or due to anything in service, it's covered. So, yeah, you've got a lot of documents, that's okay. But remember, in VA, you don't have to have any records. If you tell me I believe it, it makes sense, it becomes your medical record. Yeah, so we can do all, we can take shots at all that stuff. And if I believe it, I'll write your report. If I don't, I'll tell you. All right. Phil, God bless him. You've given me hope when my hope was gone. I got you. Don't make me cry. I need to have Kleenex. Okay. 50 years plus disappointment, frustration taking toll on me. Now, if this is China or Russia, you wouldn't be upset. It'd just be life, and we'll find out why shit happens when you get to heaven. But we're supposed to be the good guys. Truth, justice, the American way. Those old Superman comic books make us think that the government and people in the government are going to be nice. Well, no. Hard time fighting, figured out what should be done. in VA. In VA, you need a nexus report. You need a doctor that knows what they're doing. And the VA doctors, physician assistants, and nurse practitioners are not trained, and even and the people that hire them, they probably think I better not find anything wrong or they won't hire me back. That's not true, but a lot of them act that way. And there's a subconscious bias, and again, it's anybody files a claim. They're all faking. Now remember, federal workers' comp, VA, if the military are working for the government cause the slightest amount, it's 100% covered. Just the opposite of beyond a reasonable shadow of doubt criminal law. But you can't put O.J. Simpson in jail, especially with a detective life. Okay, but now civil law, family took him to court and made some money. State workers' comp is about 51%, but VA and federal are ridiculously fair, but no one knows the law, no one follows the law until you get it up to a hearing or somebody that knows what they're doing. And you have to have a doctor that knows legal medicine. Unfortunately, there's no legal medicine training in medical school. That's all just a malpractice convention. Okay, so don't give up, Phil. Can peripheral neuropathy in the arms and legs be caused by contaminated water, i.e. Campula June? It can be caused by any kind of hydrochemical. In other words, if you're cleaning the spark plug on a lawnmower and you wash it off with gasoline, your fingers get tingly. What you've done, that hydrocarbon, that solvent, the gasoline, has taken some of the fat off the nerves. Right? It's defatted the nerves. Now they grow back on there, but that stuff, sniffing glue is not good for you. It can cause all kinds of stuff. So when you're sniffing glue or TCE or all those different chemicals, jet fuel, inhaling it, it causes brain damage. It causes peripheral nerve damage. And under VA, because it's a little bit, it's 100% covered. In other words, Parkinsonism, which is a brain injury, okay, it's caused by a lot of stuff. Well, that's easy to diagnose because you're going like this and they can diagnose it. But traumatic brain injury, I tell you what, people don't know how to diagnose it. It's a subjective diagnosis. You can do all kinds of testing, but it really takes somebody who knows what they're doing. For instance, my daughter working on her psych degree, we pulled the charts A through D. Last name started with A through D. We made sure they were plaintiffs that had hired attorneys, so there's a motivation to lie, and diagnosed the brain damage by MRI, neuropsych test, not my diagnosis, okay, or CT scan or whatever, objective brain damage. And then we took, and then on the chart, how when you go to the office you fill all that paperwork out. So these people are motivated to lie about the brain injury. 76% didn't mention anything besides headache. They didn't mention, I'm not as smart as I was, I'm having memory problems. And I think we've seen all these John Wayne movies, you get knocked out and you get up and you're well. That doesn't happen. There's no such thing as a minor brain injury, period. If you're unconscious, you've severed some cells. You've got permanent brain damage. But the brain's interesting and it's going to be hard to figure it out. Okay? Now, if they'd seen a doctor previously, 86% of the time the doctors missed the diagnosis, and the worst were neurologists. This is neuropsych test, 2-day psych test, MRI or CT scan. So these little mini mental tests and stuff they do, not going to pick it up. You've got to be able to talk to the patient and know what's happening. Now back then I started head injury, walking wounded people because there wasn't a place to go as an outpatient, and I would and take care of the family and get everybody together but now you got places to go. Okay, so traumatic brain injury, major. There's no such thing as a minor brain injury, and they rate it too low. So sure, and chemicals can give you brain damage, just like you can't sniff a little bit of glue. And I'm telling everybody right now, petrochemical hydrocarbons are bad for the nerves, peripherally, and the brain. Now we get kids vaping. That white smoke coming out of the mouth is not smoke like smoke. Smoke's not very damaging to the brain. You got to smoke a long time to get emphysema. Or if you're in a yurt in the Siberia and you have a campfire you cut on, you're going to get lung damage from smoke. Takes a long time. It takes very little hydrocarbons to cause major lung damage. The lungs can't handle it. So you young people go to law school and sue the vape companies because they should know better. They should be testing that stuff on animals and doing biopsies of the lungs because it's common goddamn sense. So, but now when you're a teenager, you're going to try smoking, you're going to try vaping, and you think, no, the vaping is going to be shown. I'm just telling you, long after I'm dead, it's worse than the cigarettes were. And nicotine is very more addicting than heroin. Okay, if you take 3 days of smoking or vaping, your nicotine level, your dopamine level, the endorphins drop for a year. So if you take a 6-week course of Chantix, it's going to work 23% of the time. It takes a year for the brain to get back to normal. Plus, it's fun to smoke. It's fun to suck your thumb. I love smoking a cigar. If I ever inhaled, I'd die. And I have to do it outside because I have to spit each time. And it's a stupid thing, but it's fun. It's cool. And you look at the old movies and you can't even see anybody in Bogart that just smoke all over. So people learn to smoke. And so anyway, the best way to get off, the Cleveland Clinic came up with a deal. Now, some people can take a cigarette and just say, I'm never smoking again. Wow. Teach me how and I'll get off sugar, okay? You heroin addicts know nothing. I can't get off sugar. All right. 1 cigarette a week, and then at the end of the year, you find out if you're a genetic smoker and need to be on patches of gum the rest of your life, or you're a social smoker and now you're through. Okay, so, no guilt. You never have to talk to a smoker about quitting smoking. If a smoker has kids start smoking, they slap their head. You don't need to give brochures to people. Smokers are the most anti-smoking people of all. Okay, but get off the guilt trip. I mean, it's your body. And about once a month I got to buy a bag of candy, eat a couple of them, and throw the bag away. So I understand addiction.
Hey, one thing
Is there something on the back?
No. But one thing on Phil's, he was anticipating problems getting out of an agreement with the lawyer. But
thank you for pointing that out, Gary. Okay. Also, I've had lawyers that help me at all. Can I get an agreement with them to? So you just write letters so I no longer need your services. But some of them should be, bar complaints should be filed against people. And you can always do that. You can just go whatever state you're in, you just put your form and say, hey, he's had my case for so long and has never done anything. God, I had one the other day. 2018, hurt his back. He's been, he filed a CA1. This is federal. And someone talked him into the CA2, which is wrong. It's security. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So in 2018, and I got a check. His attorney sent him, to an attorney, a doctor, his report did not have the medical rationale. This was his, he never had back problems before. That's not enough for the government, for medical rationale. Come on, that's just not even common sense. So anyway, sent him to me, and I talked to the guy, and of course I'm pissed as hell that this guy's paid so much money for 4 years and nothing. They've been sitting on it. They've not done an oral hearing. They sent stuff to the Employee Compensation Appeal Board with bad records. And the judges, the ECAB and federal workshop, very honest people, they're going to say not reasonable medical certainty, not reasonable medical rationale, which it wasn't. And so I said, okay. First of all, he's got a box of records this thick, and they sent me about this much. And a summary list that doesn't even have dates or anything on it. It's just absolutely malpractice, legal malpractice. So if I have to go through that after he's paid you and put a long summary list, that's wrong. And I'm madder than hell. So anyway, I thought, well, the attorney doesn't know federal workers' comp because hardly any of them do. So I said, I will meet with your attorney, and we'll talk about it, and I'll decide whether I'll take you as a patient. The attorney's office called him and said, he'll meet with Dr. Ellis, but he's going to charge you an extra $1,000 to talk to Dr. Ellis. Son of a bitch! Now, I think that's legal malpractice. It's certainly unethical. Well, and of course, now the guy's terminated him, and I've called the Bar Association. Since he's terminated, can I see them now? Because he was referred by that. Yeah, sure. Same way with the Medical Association. I can see you now. But My Lord, I've seen this over and over and over again. People dabble in federal workers' comp. It is not state workers' comp. It's not car wrecks. If you don't know FECA law and all the damn FECA bulletins, get out of it. Your JD doesn't give you any brains. And I'm just telling you, I see a lot of legal malpractice in federal workers' comp. There's a law firm in Dallas that advertises federal workers' comp and won't do an oral hearing. That's one of the ways you appeal something. They should have put that in their advertising. And I tell them, I said, that's legal malpractice. Normally you tell a lawyer legal malpractice, they have a fit. Well, we just don't do it because we don't know how. I win with oral hearings, but you don't need a lawyer in federal workers' comp. Your doctor can do all that for you. You can do all that for you. It's administrative law. Now, you need somebody who knows administrative law. That's what we do. We'll get it taken care of. Okay.
All right. Well,
So anyway, if you don't like the cussing, tough luck. When they put my babies in boxcars, sit in my gas chamber, it's time to kick ass and call a spade a spade. And when the emperor doesn't have clothes on, it's my job to tell them. Bless you all.